The power of starting before you're ready. Most people wait their entire lives for a moment that never arrives. They wait for confidence. They wait for the perfect plan. They wait for a sign, a feeling, a green light from life itself, something to tell them, now. Now you can begin. But life rarely speaks in that language. The world never synchronizes itself perfectly for your comfort. And readiness, the thing we wait for the most, is almost always an illusion. Today's story is about the power of taking the first step before you feel prepared. About jumping while feel is still in your throat. About moving forward when logic says, you're not ready, but destiny whispers, go. 1. The trap of waiting for the right time. There is a man, let's call him Elias. Elias is like many of us, full of ideas, full of potential, full of plans that lived only inside his mind but never made it into reality. He would wake up each day saying, I'll start tomorrow. I just need a little more money. Let me learn a bit more. Let me wait for things to calm down. His entire life became a list of postponed dreams. Not because he was lazy, not because he lacked ambition, but because he convinced himself that readiness was the key to success. He believed that one day he would finally feel confident enough, skilled enough, strong enough, knowledgeable enough to launch into the life he imagined. But that day never came. And there's a reason. Readiness doesn't come before action. Readiness is a product of action. You don't become ready, then begin. You begin, and through the struggle, through the process, through the mistakes, you become ready.
2. The moment everything changed. One morning, Elias met an older man in a coffee shop, a man whose eyes carried the weight of experience, but whose smile held the lightness of someone who had learned something important. Elias shared his ideas, the same ones he had been repeating for years, and the man simply asked him, "So, why haven't you started?" Elias said, "I'm not ready yet." The old man chuckled softly, the kind of laugh that comes from someone who has already lived through the mistakes you are about to make. He leaned forward and said, "My boy, you think the ocean waits for you to learn how to swim? No, you step into the water first. Readiness is the reward for courage, not the requirement." Those words hit Elias like a wave. He realized he had been living life on pause. He was not waiting for the perfect moment. He was hiding inside the idea of perfection. And perfection is just fear in a fancy costume. 3. The first step, the hardest step. That evening, Elias did something he had never done before. He took the first step. Not a big step, not a dramatic one. Just a small action, the smallest possible, but something that broke the cycle of waiting. He opened a blank document and wrote the first sentence of the book he had always wanted to publish. Was it good? No. Was he confident? Not at all. Did he know what he was doing? Barely. But that wasn't the point. The point was that he had finally moved from dreaming to doing. And that single action, small as it was, shifted the entire direction of his life. Because every great journey begins the same way, with a single, imperfect, uncomfortable step. 4. Mistakes are not the enemy, they are evidence. As Elias continued writing, He made mistakes, hundreds of them. Bad paragraphs, awkward scenes, unclear ideas, doubt, fear, confusion. There were days he felt like quitting. Days he wondered if he was fooling himself. Days he questioned whether he had any talent at all. But every time he made a mistake, he remembered the old man's words, and he realized something important. Mistakes don't mean you're not ready. They mean you're becoming ready. Mistakes are not evidence of failure. They are evidence of progress. A baby doesn't wait to feel prepared before taking its first step. A bird doesn't wait to feel ready before leaving the nest. Nature never waits. Only humans do. And what has waiting ever given us? Regret. What has action given us? Growth.
5. The law of momentum. There is a mysterious force in life called momentum. It doesn't respond to thinking. It doesn't respond to planning. It doesn't respond to wishing. It only responds to movement. Once Elias started writing consistently, something changed inside him. He felt more alive, more focused, more confident. Not because he magically became more talented, but because movement creates clarity. Movement creates confidence. Movement creates direction. You learn what works by doing. You learn who you are by doing. You learn where you're going by doing. Action is the teacher. Waiting is the enemy. 6. The fear that lies behind "I'm not ready." Most people don't start because they're scared. Scared of failing. Scared of being judged. Scared of not being good enough. Scared of the uncertainty. But here's the strange truth. You're not supposed to be good at something you've never done before. You're not supposed to know everything in advance. You're not supposed to start with clarity or confidence. You're supposed to grow into those things. You cannot skip the beginning. You cannot avoid the awkward phase. You cannot fast forward to mastery. Mastery is earned on the path, not before you take the first step.
7. The world rewards the bold, not the perfect. The people who achieve extraordinary things aren't special. They are simply people who started when they were uncertain. People who tried while shaking. People who moved while doubting. People who began before they were ready. Every entrepreneur you admire, every athlete, every creator, every inventor, they all started unprepared. The difference between them and everyone else is simple. They acted while others waited. 8. What happened to Elias? Months passed. Elias finished his book. Not because he became fearless, but because he learned to move forward with fear. He published it, and to his surprise, people connected with it deeply. They loved the rawness, the honesty, the imperfections that made it real. His book didn't change the world, but it changed his world. It changed who he believed he could be. It changed the way he saw himself. It changed his relationship with fear. And that is the power of starting early. You discover a version of yourself you could have never met by waiting. 9. The lesson of this story. The lesson is simple. If you wait for readiness, you will wait forever. You don't need to feel confident. You don't need the perfect plan. You don't need to know every step. You don't need to feel brave. You only need the courage to begin. Start the business, start the book, start the workout, start the project, start the idea, start the journey. You don't need to be ready. You need to be willing. 10. The final truth. The road will teach you what the starting line never could. The journey will shape you in ways planning never will. Experience will build a strength you can't think your way into. So if you're listening to this right now, consider this your sign. Begin. Even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, even if your mind doubts, even if your heart fears. Because the moment you take that first uncomfortable step, you become a different person. A person who believes in action. A person who grows through effort. A person who moves, adapts, learns, and evolves. Readiness is not the beginning. Readiness is the result. And your future self is waiting for you on the other side of fear.